Judges 7. Gideon wins the battle over the Midianites. Early in the morning, Jerubbaal and all of his men camped at the spring of Harod. Jerubbaal was another name for Gideon. The camp of Midian was north of Gideon's camp. It was in the valley near the hill of Moreh. The Lord spoke to Gideon. He said, I want to hand Midian over to you, but you have too many men for me to do that. I do not want Israel to brag that their own strength has saved them. So here's what I want you to announce to your men. Tell them, those who tremble with fear can turn back. They can leave Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men left, but 10,000 remained. The Lord spoke to Gideon again. He said, there are still too many men. So take them down to the water. I will sort them out for you there. If I say, this one will go with you, he will go. But if I say, that one will not go with you, he will not go. So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord spoke to him. He said, some men will drink the way dogs do. They will lap up the water with their tongues. Separate them from those who get down on their knees to drink. 300 men lapped up the water. They brought it up to their mouths with their hands. All the rest got down on their knees to drink. The Lord spoke to Gideon. He said, with the help of the 300 men who lapped up the water, I will save you. I will hand the Midianites over to you. Let all the other men go home. So Gideon sent the rest of the men of Israel to their tents, but he kept the 300 men. They took over the supplies and trumpets, and others had left. The Midianites had set up their camp in the valley below where Gideon was. During the night the Lord spoke to Gideon. He said, get up. Go down against the camp. I am going to hand it over to you. But what if you are afraid to attack? Then go down to the camp with your servant Purah. Listen to what they are saying. After that you will not be afraid to attack the camp. So Gideon and his servant Purah went down to the edge of the camp. The Midianites had settled in the valley, so had the Amalekites and all the other tribes from the east. There were so many of them that they looked like huge numbers of locusts. Like the grains of sand in the seashore, their camels couldn't be counted. Gideon arrived just as a man was telling a friend about his dream. I had a dream, he was saying. A round loaf of barley bread came rolling into the camp of Midian. It hit a tent with a great force. The tent turned over and fell down flat. His friend replied, that can only be the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash. Gideon is from Israel. God has handed the Midianites over to him. He has given him the whole camp. Gideon heard the man explain what the dream meant. Then Gideon worshipped God. He returned to the camp of Israel. He called out, get up! The Lord has handed the Midianites over to you. Gideon separated the 300 men into 3 companies. He put a trumpet and an empty jar into the hands of each man, and he put a torch inside each jar. Watch me, he told them. Do what I do. I'll go to the edge of the enemy camp. Then do exactly as I do. I and everyone who is with me will blow our trumpets. Then blow your trumpets from your positions all around the camp, and shout the battle cry, for the Lord and for Gideon. Gideon and the 100 men who were with him reached the edge of the enemy camp. It was about 10 o'clock at night. It was just after the guard had been changed. Gideon and his men blew their trumpets. They broke the jars that were in their hands. The 3 companies blew their trumpets. They smashed their jars. They held their torches in their left hands. They held it in their right hands, the trumpets they were going to blow. Then they shouted the battle cry, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. Each man stayed in his position around the camp, but all the Midianites ran away in fear. They were crying out as they ran. When the 300 trumpets were blown, the Lord caused all the men in the enemy camp to start fighting each other. They attacked each other with their swords. The army ran away to Beth Shittah towards Zerah. They ran all the way to the border of Abel Meholal near Tabbath. The men of Israel from the tribes of Naphtali, Asher, and all of Manasseh were called out. They chased the Midianites. Gideon sent messengers through the entire hill country of Ephraim. They said, come on down against the Midianites. Take control of the waters of the Jordan River before they get here. Do it all the way to Beth Barah. So all the men of Ephraim were called out. They took control of the waters of the Jordan all the way to Beth Barah. They also captured Oreb and Zeb. Those men were 2 of the Midianite leaders. The men of Ephraim killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb. They killed Zeb at the winepress of Zeb. They chased the Midianites, and they brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon. He was by the Jordan River.